Okay, I just want to say for the record, you know, as far as I'm concerned, there's no education about why it is the term American Indian is being used to this day. And there have been plenty of times where, people who have to live under the jurisdiction of American Indian, there were some people, who could have changed it but didn't. Because they reap the benefits of, well, quote unquote benefits of all the stuff that's promised to them, but never is really elaborated on how it is the way it is. As well as a bunch of Americans who knew exactly what it is that they were doing, exploiting those things. And those are people, who have done business with those people who think, everything is fine and dandy. A lot of them would try to even get away from it knowing that it was actually wrong. But, it's like we're not equal with them. They come from that jurisdiction. They have every ability to, say something about it or do something about it, but they don't do it, so. Just one of the thoughts I wanted to leave as far as, like, the mentality on things. Because then they'll be like, oh, well, I'm white, shit. I have every ability to say that I got problems too and everything. It's like, well, great. Just know that when you say you got problems, people listen to you just because you are white. That's it. They don't give a shit about you, what you think or what you become. If you're not benefiting, what that is that's using that shit, you're just, how you say, a peasant. Something that could be thrown away and shit. Even though you think having, a light skin color is gonna help you. That goes on top with the fact that you can't trust a lot of different people as well. Being people who identify as being black. Because a lot of them, like from what I've seen personally, they're scared. Scared to help anyone besides themselves. Because of how fucked up shit it is in this society for someone who is of color, quote unquote. So, like, they focus on themselves, and then the next generation that sees it, they don't understand, it's out of fear and shit. So they think, oh, yeah, well, I'm gonna get some money and fucking do what I want. 'Cause it's about what I want. And it's like a vicious fucking thing to fucking go through. To have people know that fucking, even those older generations look at their newer generations and see that it's just like a lot of them, they probably just put up with it, from what I've seen. Shit. So yeah, because I've tried to look out, I've tried to branch out, try to talk to many different people, and that's the kind of shit I found out there. Top of that, pretty much anyone who comes from, like, a society where their strict belief is that, I don't know, like, I guess the number one is, like, a dictatorship. Or, like, something that constrains their way of thinking. Because, like, the one thing I've seen is if there's a culture out there that believes that what it is that they know is absolute and there's no other way. I'm not even talking, like, religions or anything. But mainly just, like, like people and their cultural belief. It's like that's the only way and there's no other thing else. And they have no other type of lesson within their culture even that says to look outside themselves for answers. It's like you can't reach out to them because, like, they just have full access to something that they can easily get rid of because the Americans make it perfectly okay for them to be over here because they're not monitoring them for that kind of shit. It's just, nah, go ahead and take all you can, give us your money, fucking everything. It's all ours and shit, but they don't own it. Like to act like they do if they don't. And I even tried to look for help and fucking, our neighbors down south, but fucking a lot of them, how you say, they just know that once you take the money, once you take all this shit, you know, you're pretty much done yourself in. If you say you don't like it, you don't like what it is that happens to you afterwards, they say that. It's like, well, either you don't take it and you go hard living that kind of life, that the way that it would be, or you take it and then you say you don't like it, and it just makes you look like, you know, something's wrong with you more than it does what it is you're taking from. So, and it's like a lot of us didn't have a choice. We weren't, you know, allowed to leave the reservation for a long period of time. So a lot of the older generations kind of just got used to taking shit. It's just like it's a fucked up thing. But, you know, some of those people didn't fucking care. It's like, we're in a lot of places to really look for help, and then try to ask the Americans, and they're like, you know, like, don't you appreciate, even, do you take for granted the things that's given to you? But it's like, they're not fucking looking at it like, oh, my ancestors enslaved your ancestors and put you on a small bit of land and forced you to assimilate into our society because you were considered animals back in those days. It's what they refuse to tell people is that, you know, these people they call black people were more of a human being, even during the Civil War and shit, than we were. It's a sad fact, but that's how it was. So, like, there are a lot of quote-unquote black people who are sold out. They side with the white Americans and their means or methods of survival, and they just don't care. And they always say shit like, yeah, well, we were fighting you guys too anyway, so that's our history, but this and that. And I guess if they understand it and shit, it's like bringing people to like this weird fucking place. But I tried looking for help many different ways. See, I even look for help within the community of women that were trying to make a change. And I guess because American Indian women, quote unquote, the statistic for American Indian women kind of goes against what it is that they say they create and shit, that at that point in time, they refuse to acknowledge it as being an actual problem. Because a lot of them think that, for the most part, it's like something bad or something to admit it. And the sad thing is, a lot of women's rights and stuff are actually going forward without ever addressing how it is American Indian women are treated in this place. Because now there's a whole movement, right? There's something coming out, but fucking for years, silence. So, tried looking for help for there, and then they just tried to make me look like a creep because I told them that I always wanted to be a woman. So, like, it got pretty bad. Like, some bad blood. I got mixed with that. And then, on top of that, whenever those communists would come by, I just never look at them because I was told by my relatives, being they were all serving in for the government and shit, even though they weren't even a person, told me that not to be around communists, period. So I never did. Because then they tried to send pretty boys and shit after me. Not in a bad way, but, like in the, oh, I'm your buddy, friend guy way. So, yeah, tried to look for help in many different ways. Always shot down. Just made me depressed for a long time. Like, people tried to reach out to me like, hey, shit's happening over here, I understand where you're coming from, and I'll be like, oh, okay. you know, at least you understand it. So if I, if I were to end up being a victim of this shit, you know that, it was a certain way, but you couldn't help me even, It's like I wish I could help you, but so it was my whole life. That's how it was. Trying to find help for this shit. It's depressing, man. Almost killed myself many times because I thought doing anything about it would make it worse. And like not doing anything about it would make it worse. And it's like I wanted to be able to do what I wanted. I wanted to, I was still a kid even during all this stuff. Like I didn't even know, what being in a relationship was like and all the stuff that comes with that. And I just got, I didn't know how I feel. It was a terrible time for me. And people would be like, oh, there's starving kids in Africa. But fucking, here I was. This Indian entity that fuckers wanted me to see. It's supposed to play out the way the system works and shit. I just got tired of it. I was tired of it. Like, mentally, physically, it was just debilitating to my whole being. Oh. So yeah, I got into things like self-harm and shit. I just didn't care. And after a while, like, there's really nothing that stopped me from, like, asking more questions because I knew asking questions would make it worse. Not only for me, but for the people I loved, in my life. I just knew it would make it worse for them, too. So I'm like, well, if I gotta fucking suffer, then I might as well suffer at a point where I know I'm doing it to myself and no one's doing it to me, because then I have control over that. That's the only time the worst of the worst out there actually let you do anything, is if you're harming yourself. I mean, I tried looking for help in many different ways, and it's just always the same thing. Same kind of dumb bullshit. But, who's going to really understand that, man? Only main reason I understand is because it was inevitable. I had losses in my life that made me think that way. It wasn't like something I could at any point just walk away from and act like didn't happen. It's like the very things that even took my father's life weren't even just limited to the person who fucking did it, It was the idea, what it is that influenced the dumb fucker to do such a thing. And that haunted me my whole life. Here I am, proving that, it is fucked up. It's fucked up in more than one way, even through the law itself. But, there's no amount of money or material possession or anything that can fill that void. It's just, even if when I know what it is I do will have a good effect on people and on things, I still won't be happy. If anything, I'd probably kill myself. I don't know if I want to stick around and watch myself deteriorate and forget who I am and how to be. And then, like, become what it is that those fuckers always thought of me, to be and shit. Because I was like that back in the day. Once people started saying I was a certain way, I would act like that in front of them. I just didn't even care. I had no ability to stop myself or anything. It just started going right into it, making them really believe it. who knows? I'm just tired. Tired of this stuff. It's mentally exhausting. And they always try to get a fresh face to come around and act like it was just nothing for them to understand. Well, it's like, yeah, well, you didn't fucking have to deal with the fact that there was an element that could fucking take you out at any point just because you're not a person to some fucker anyway. Because then they tried to send people from a quote-unquote African-American community to come and talk to me and have this little kid who lost his dad for being black or whatever come and talk to me and tell me that it's not a big deal. You know? Fuck that. Who the fuck are you, you little bitch? Like, oh, my dad died because he was black, so it's not a big deal. You don't need to make it a big deal that your dad died because my dad died. Like, who the fuck does that? It's like, I'm not making it a big deal. I'm trying to tell you there's more behind that. But obviously you people think that my suffering, equates to what it is those people have in their suffering when it doesn't. So, guess I'll have to leave it as, incompetence in many different ways.